We are going to talk about the Baltimore bridge collapse right now, of course. Yesterday, midday for us in Australia, while we were shooting the podcast, we got fucking breaking news. And the breaking news was that a bridge in Baltimore had collapsed out of nowhere. And immediately I personally thought, oh, this must be because our infrastructure is dog shit, right? Turns out, no, it literally is one of those cases where it's a freak accident. Sometimes it happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes it happens. The only aspect of it that is like not so freakish or legitimately a much larger problem is the type of bridge that it is. The type of bridge that it is makes it so that when one part of it collapses, when a support beam collapses, it takes out the entire fucking bridge, which makes it much more damaging. It is seemingly one of those situations that like literally is a freak accident. If that makes sense. Because like obviously when I look at that, I think, oh my God, like our infrastructure is so bad. Our infrastructure is so fucking bad. It got destroyed so easily. That's not even the case. Streamer monopolizing on news since HasanAbi is on vacation.
Nah.
What?
That's actually
what?
Oh, nah, nah.
Say you swear to God a bridge collapse. That's a new fear. On my life, that's a new fear.
Yeah. Hell no. Hey, bro. To anyone that was impacted by this, my condolences go out to your families and all that, bro. I'm genuinely. This is horrible, bro. This is actually one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Oh God.
I don't know how many people passed away from that, but like, bro,
That's crazy. On God, bro. On God. That bridge, on God, like London. You know what I'm saying? London Bridge is falling down. On God, for real, dude. That's crazy. All my life, I've never seen no bridge go down like that. If I was there, it would not have gone down like that. I would have saved it. Anyway, listen. So, yes, there is an infrastructural take there, right? Like the type of bridge that they're using, the type of bridge that they make is unfortunately, once one support beam goes out in this type of bridge, the entire bridge goes down, as opposed to the concrete bridges where like it's much harder to take down, right? There could have been accident mitigating infrastructure like bollards or columns to prevent the bridge collapsing. That's true. There are many different things that they could have done. Luckily, it happened at like late at night, and luckily it didn't happen at rush hour because that would have killed so many more people. But ultimately, I think like people immediately thought maybe it's an act of terror. And then people were like, maybe it's not an act of terror, but like maybe it's actually because there's a black pilot or something, a black captain or DEI. And now conservatives are going off of the DEI angle. They're talking about how Baltimore's mayor is black. It's like, bro, have you seen Baltimore? The fuck? Like they're talking about it like as though it's just because Baltimore is like a predominantly black area that like, the bridge was shit. And I don't know what to say about this issue beyond the fact that I told you that they just basically substituted. They just basically fucking substituted the N-word with woke, and then they substituted with CRT, and now they're substituting it with DEI. They just keep like swapping it. And it's just like, just say the N-word, dog. Like I get it. Like I know what you're trying to say. Conservatives have gotten fucking lazy. One, they've gotten woke and they've gotten too PC because they just don't want to say the N-word, right? And secondly, they've gotten lazy because like DEI, CRT, all of that stuff is not just a substitute for the N-word. It's a substitute for like the N-word variants of like whatever the race might be. It's like a pick and choose for non-white, okay? Non-white, non-male. So like they got so goddamn lazy that now they don't even like find the adequate, like they don't even do the research to be like, what kind of non-white person am I shitting on? You know what I mean? They just say CRT. They just say DEI. They found like a universal placeholder that's politically fucking correct. One, because they got woke. because they're also gay and Marxist now. That's what happened to the conservatives. And secondly, they are lazy as fuck. Back in my day, racists would at least do their due diligence and find the appropriate slur to say to people. Nowadays, they don't even try. They just say woke. Where are the old school racists at? Dusting off the fucking racism tomes, okay? Going in and like doing the reading to find out exactly what kind of, what kind of bigotry we got to do. Yeah, this guy's a straight up Nazi, by the way. This account is like literally a Nazi. This is Baltimore's DEI mayor. Bro, DEI mayor in Baltimore? It's literally DEI if a white guy is in charge in Baltimore. You understand that, right? Like, it would literally be like a diversity initiative to put a white guy in charge of Baltimore. What the fuck are you saying? DEI. Like, they didn't put him there. They voted for him. Bro thinks they have a corporate structure in Baltimore and they put this guy in charge because he's black. I just know one of the first conservative insane person posts we'll see in the morning about the bridge collapse incident will somehow be related to wokeness or DEI or insane bigotry. It's not even basically if it's basically a matter of time. But our economy needs more foreign workers. Boom. Dude, what is happening? Like, do they think the bridge was built like by foreign workers last year or something? Like, DEI is a relatively new phenomena. What the fuck are we talking about? It just doesn't even make sense. That's what's fucking frustrating about this situation is like obviously it's racist, but I'm so used to that, right? So like I expect it, and that's like, it's shitty, it's lame, but like you're talking about a bridge that was built by your fucking Italian dad, okay? Yeah, they were the foreign workers at the time, dumb fuck, but they're not the people that you now consider foreign workers. You know what I mean? Unless you are a racist who like has gotten in a fucking time machine and went back in time and you're like, we got to cut out this Italian immigration coming into the country. Like, unless that's your argument for DEI, like, what the fuck are you talking about? The bridge is a huge part of the community here. Everyone's life is affected by this bridge. Also, the workers weren't warned, which is wild. Like, it just doesn't, it's so fucking stupid. But not only is it fucking stupid, but it also, and I've explained this over and over again, and I see this more so on Twitter than anywhere else. In a world full of blind people, if you can actually have vision, that's a L for you. Okay? And Twitter is a world full of blind people. Every single one of these motherfuckers are dumb as hell. They're all stupid and they're all fucking racist. So for them, they're just in their hug box going, dude, we are so right. We are so right about this issue here. We're so right about this. Yeah, it is actually like, I'm sure the ship captain was black. I'm sure the people on the ship were like non-white. You know, I'm sure that's why the power went out. I'm sure that the ship company is doing diverse hiring practices. I'm sure the bridge was built by foreign workers and it didn't touch American hands. Let me tell you something. Back when we had manufacturing in the United States of America, okay, and I remember the memes from back then, everybody used to talk about how dog shit American manufacturing is. Fuck you mean foreign workers? Like, everyone used it. It was a meta that like they would always joke that like people at the factories I must not have worn helmets or whatever the fuck. You know? Ford. What is it? What's the Ford one? Fuck. What's the meme about Ford? It used to, what does it stand for? Found on the road dead. And thank you. Exactly. Ford, found on the road dead. Obviously that's improved dramatically over the course of the years, which is ironic because like that's also, yeah, Ford, fix or repair daily. Like, ironically, as America has become more diverse, and this is a correlation, not causation, but like, ironically, as America has become, I guess, more and more diverse, quote unquote diverse, our car manufacturing has improved dramatically, which is pretty funny to think about. Because like back when we did do a lot of manufacturing in this country and there wasn't a lot of DEI or whatever the fuck, like people knew how shit it was all the time. But it's hilarious to think about because like even on the correlation front, it actually doesn't make sense. Obviously correlation is not causation, but like you don't even have a correlation here. Like more diversity has in more modern times, more diversity is like literally led to like, or not led to, but more diversity is side by side with like better manufacturing capabilities. So it is very fucking stupid. Yeah. The bridge opened in 1977 and the acting governor at the time was a white guy. So I suppose you could say it's DEI. The government needs to hire less white people. I mean, it is DEI. For Baltimore, if you got a white boy in charge in Baltimore, that's DEI. That means like they did a diversity initiative, okay? It's more DEI in that direction. It's the same as like Irvine, you know what I mean? You go to Irvine, if you got a white guy in charge in Irvine, that's DEI, dog. What the fuck are you doing? You know? How did you get to this position, huh? Tell me. Oh yeah? Diversity application, right? That's what it is. Like, what are we talking about? Dude, that's not true. DEI is a new acronym they love saying but can't tell you what it stands for. Is CRT 2.0. Yeah. Yeah, white guy in Atlanta, DEI. Anyway, crazy people are trying to act like this kind of incidences are new and diversity. This is one of the many examples. The Silver Bridge disaster of 1967, a brief history of documentary. This is in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, United States. It was opened in 1928, but designed for the lighter vehicles on the time. Anyway, listen. This person thinks the bridge was blown up on purpose. Dude, I love how fucking insane we've gotten. We've just gotten progressively more and more insane as the years go by, baby. That's what I'm talking about. Here, let's let Biden talk about how he's going to fucking rebuild the bridge, okay? Before we get to the more insane stuff. I forgot that, like, there's also, like, the normal news side of this. So if many of you are unfamiliar with what the fuck's going on here, let's first start here. This is a better starting point. Let's talk about Brandon and what he had to say, and they'll give you some updates. Yeah, Americans have gotten so fucking insane. It is the most predictable outcome of like living the way that we do for as long as we have. We've become an increasingly more violent culture. We have no solutions for any of the answers. So people are like desperate to find like good narratives. You know what I mean? So immediately people hit the terrorism note. People hit the fucking like, oh, it must be like gay black people building the bridge, like a different form of bigotry. And but before we get to that, I should probably cover it, the normal aspect of it, like what actually happened, what the administration is saying they want to do. Okay, here.
Before I leave for North Carolina, which I'm going to do in a few minutes, I want to speak briefly about the terrible incident and accident that happened in Baltimore this morning. At about 1:30, a container ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which I've been over many, many times commuting from the state of Delaware, either on a train or by car. I've been in Baltimore Harbor many times. And the bridge collapsed, sending several people and vehicles into the water, into the river. And multiple U.S. Coast Guard units, which are stationed very nearby, thank God, were immediately deployed along with local emergency personnel. And the Coast Guard is leading the response to the port, where representatives from the Federal Highway Administration, the FBI, the Department of Transportation, the Army Corps of Engineers, as well as Maryland officials and Baltimore Police and Fire, are all working together to coordinate an emergency response. Officials at the scene estimate 8 people were unaccounted for still, were unaccounted for. That number might change. 2 have been rescued, 1 without injury, 1 in critical condition. And the search and rescue operation is continuing for all those remaining as we speak. I spoke with Governor Moore this morning, as well as the Mayor of Baltimore, the county executive, both United States senators and the congressman. And my Secretary of Transportation is on the scene. I told them we're going to send all the federal resources they need as we respond to this emergency. And I mean all the federal resources. And we're going to rebuild that port together. Everything so far indicates that this was a terrible accident. At this time, we have no other indication, no other reason to believe there's any intentional act here. Personnel on board the ship were able to alert the Maryland Department of Transportation that they had lost control of their vessel, as you all know and reported. As a result, local authorities were able to close the bridge to traffic before the bridge was struck, which undoubtedly saved lives. Our prayers are with everyone involved in this terrible accident and all the families, especially those waiting for the news of their loved one right now. I know every minute in that circumstance feels like a lifetime. You just don't know. It's just terrible. We're incredibly grateful for the brave rescuers who immediately rushed to the scene and to the people of Baltimore who want to say, we're with you. We're going to stay with you as long as it takes. And like the governor said, you're Maryland tough, you're Baltimore strong, and we're going to get through this together. And I promise we're not leaving. Here's what's happening now. The search and rescue operation is our top priority. Ship traffic in the Port of Baltimore has been suspended until further notice, and we'll need to clear that channel before the ship traffic can resume. The Army Corps of Engineers is on the spot and is going to help lead this effort to clear the channel. The Port of Baltimore is one of the nation's largest shipping hubs, and I've been there a number of times as a senator and as a vice president. It handles a record amount of cargo last year. It's also the top port in America for both imports and exports of automobiles and light trucks. Around 850,000 vehicles go through that port every single year, and we're going to get it up and running again as soon as possible. 15,000 jobs depend on that port, and we're going to do everything we can to protect those jobs and help those workers. The bridge is also critical for travel, not just for Baltimore, but for the Northeast Corridor. Over 30,000 vehicles cross the Francis Scott Key Bridge on a daily basis. It's virtually, it's one of the most important elements for the economy in the Northeast and the quality of life. My transportation secretary is there now. As I told Governor Moore, I've directed my team to move heaven and earth to reopen the port and rebuild the bridge as soon as humanly possible. And we're going to work hand in hand with the support of Maryland to support Maryland whatever they ask for. We're going to work with our partners in Congress to make sure the state gets the support it needs. It's my intention that the federal government will pay for the entire cost of reconstructing that bridge, and I expect the Congress to support my effort. This is going to take some time. The people of Baltimore can count on us, though, to stick with them at every step of the way until the port is reopened and the bridge is rebuilt. You know, we're not leaving until this job gets done. Not leave until then. So I just want to say God bless everybody who got everyone harmed this morning and their families.
How does Pete excel so much on being the worst transportation secretary? I think honestly God is punishing him. And no, I'm not even making like a ironic homophobic joke or something. Like I think he's just done a lot of bad in his life. He killed too many fucking dogs at the shelter. Okay. And now he's getting punished for it. Okay. Because honestly, it is pretty wild how many transportation related disasters have happened under one fucking transportation secretary. It's just like, it's gotta be karma. Like it is pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Like it is a unique amount of, there are a unique amount of transportation related incidents in this stolen joke from Chapo. Please tell me that is not what he's fucking, they made this joke already. I haven't watched a new Chapo. Did they talk about the Baltimore Bridge? I couldn't tell you the last transportation secretary or any of the previous ones. I just like, no, but they talked about Boeing. Oh, they did? Anyway, listen, I'm in fucking Australia. I haven't had time to listen to them. But the point is this. Okay? Any type of transportation that's going on in America is fucked under Pete Buttigieg's watch. It is really fucking crazy. Okay, let's get back to the news.
And may God bless the first responders, many of whom risked their lives. And
I got scared.
The reason I'm not going to take a lot of questions.
Just don't touch the black one.
Remaining issues that are open that we got to determine what's going to happen in terms of the rescue mission and the like. But
Do you plan to go to Baltimore, sir? And if so, how quickly?
I do, and as quickly as I can.
You said the federal government's also going to pay for the repairs. I'm just curious. This was a ship that appears to be at fault. Is there any reason to believe that the company behind the ship should be held responsible? And then also, you
That
mentioned
could be, but we're not going to wait till that happens. We're going to pay for it to get the bridge rebuilt and opened.
What did you make of Israel's decision?
It's just crazy because, like, so consistently, there's one thorough line through all of these issues, in all of these, like, transportation-related issues, right? And it's not Pete Buttigieg. It is the fact that, like, every single one of these companies is constantly cutting corners, cutting costs, constantly profit-seeking, constantly short-term profit-seeking in the sense that they literally do not care. Deregulation comes as well because they lobby the government for said deregulation. And then, like, they don't have enough security measures on the infrastructure side, on the government side. Then they also implement deregulation. And then, like, you have boats that fucking run out of power. And it's crazy that, like, you see this in every company. It's not like black people running the ship. It's not brown people running the ship. It's that, okay? Capitalism is running the motherfucking ship, and it's making all of these things worse and worse year over year over year. And yet these dumb fucks can't recognize that. So they have to look and point the finger at their pet project, which is, unfortunately for many, just racism. Pure, unadulterated, unfiltered racism. That and a lack of safety redundancies. Yep. Turns out if it did have dolphins, they were just very small and very far away from the piers. Effective. Yeah, save money, save lives. Install dolphins around your bridge piers. Now, the thing is, it can still be an issue. Freak accidents can still happen, okay? Sometimes, and this is the unfortunate reality, sometimes even if you have fucking dolphins, even if you have the redundancies, it's not going to be a 100%, it's not going to be 100% safe. Like, maybe a ship is coming at it way faster than you were supposed to. It's just like a perfect, it's a perfect shitstorm where you basically have you might have like conditions that you might have like a rift and conditions that make it so that the ship is actually going faster than it normally would, and it runs out of energy or whatever the fuck, right? It runs out of power, and then it goes through the dolphin and still hits the fucking bridge. I'm a civil engineer. The bridge was designed based on 1977 standards, and ships have gotten bigger since then. This ship was 117,000 tons. Wait, what? Bridges then and now take impacts into consideration using fenders and around the piers, but nobody's going to agree to pay for the cost of reinforcement against the size of the ship. Yeah. Point is, no matter what happens, like, obviously you can still build the redundancies and they can still not be able to save you. In this circumstance, obviously there were more safety measures that we could have had that we didn't. Okay? We did not have the safety measures on the infrastructure side. We also have increasingly, as a consequence of trying to fucking make higher profits, we constantly fucking front load all these goddamn ships. The logistics have gotten out of control. Okay? The logistics have gotten out of control. So these are all factors that contribute to these issues. Okay, is that a window? Why is it still dark if it's 8 a.m.? It's a dark window. Why are you asking me this question? What? It wasn't an accident. It was orchestrated as yet another distraction in a series of distractions on the testimony of Major David Grush. This was a planned demolition. What are you saying, dude? Yeah, dude, they planned to fucking blow up a key part of the infrastructure that connects like two fucking parts of the of this city. Yeah, they did that on purpose. The worst part of this all, besides the human loss, of course, is going to be jobs, economic loss on the people who rely on the port. The bridge is used to transport hazmat in and out of the area. Now they must use tunnels for hazmat, which is not ideal. Every aspect, here's the thing, okay? Every aspect of our lives is touched by capitalism. Every aspect of our lives is impacted by decision makers that cut corners, deregulate, and make overall, make the process of your product coming from point A to fucking point B to your door less safe for everyone involved. because they're trying to make it as efficient as possible, and they're trying to ensure profits are as high as possible. So that's it. So every single problem you can point to, and even you can point to the system for every single problem. However, beyond that, shit does happen sometimes. So I do think that this is like one of those instances, right? Like, obviously, we like looking at like what could have happened if we had like proper safety measures, yada, yada, yada. And that's important because those safety measures exist for this fucking reason, right? But ultimately, it sometimes it is a freak accident. You know what I mean? I managed to find the single most insane take on the situation, by the way. Are you kidding me? It wasn't the David Grush take, the guy that thought that this was an orchestrated attack because of some fucking crackhead UFO conspiracy guy that's like giving testimony on aliens. Yeah, I think that's not the reason. Not even efficient at like getting it to you, efficient for making money off of. It's anti-efficacious. It's complicated for no reason. Yeah, when I talk about efficiency, I'm talking about like efficiency from the framework of a capitalist. Reasons why the bridge collapsed. Okay. Reasons why the bridge collapsed. Stone Toss the Nazi says foreign workers. Bridge was built in 1977. I don't think that he knows who he is talking about when he says foreign workers. Ironic, because this is, of course, a Puerto Rican Latino Nazi by the name of Hans Graber making this take. He would probably be considered a foreign worker by the metrics of his own kin, you know, his own ideological kinfolk, not skinfolk, I guess. So that's cool. This guy says Chinese contractor ship. It's fucking, we're talking about global shipping. Like, do you know what you are talking about? Point the finger of blame at China for everything then, because guess what? It's, first of all, it's not even Chinese. I'm pretty sure this one is Singaporean. But here, make no mistake. He's racist, but sometimes he could have actually technically called it right, because we're talking about global shipping. Of course, hella fucking global shipping is like, is just completely controlled by Chinese companies. Okay? I do like that. I do like that we are now making the whole like we're basically now doing the meme that I breathed. The meme of what kind of Chinese are you is now a reality. Okay? This is like very real. Senator, the ship was Singaporean. Yeah. Yeah, it's Singaporean. It's a different kind of Chinese. Is basically now what is happening. Okay? I'm not giving this guy any like props here. I don't think he I don't think he like thought about it too much. He just immediately was like, it must be Chinese. This is the same argument for that lady who complained about the airport being filled with immigrants. Yeah, exactly. Baltimore bridge is 1.6 miles long. This is the moment it collapsed after a cargo ship struck it early in the hours of this morning. Lockdown.
Critical infrastructure, and I'm one of these people that believes we've never fully come out of all the lockdowns and the COVID issues. You know, as I said, you look at our critical infrastructure, and I'm one of these people that believes we've never fully come out of all the lockdowns and the COVID issues. You know, as I said, you look at our critical infrastructure, and I'm one of these people that believes we've.
The bridge had a vaccine injury? Like, what's happening? John Guandolo says, my initial assessment of the bridge collapse due to the main support column being struck by a ship in Baltimore is that it is more likely than not intentional. I worked several Al-Qaeda, Hamas cases while in the FBI and found, verified by state intel agencies, Al-Qaeda and Hamas targeted key bridges to shut down exfil abilities so they could conduct significant level follow-on attacks. This may be that, or this may be an accident. I lean strongly towards not an accident. The fact that FBI / Department of Homeland Security says it is not terrorism is a key indicator that it is. FBI / Department of Homeland Security have been wrong 100% of the time. They initially say it's not terrorism. Fort Hood, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Lakewood, Texas. This guy, wait, did this guy work for the FBI for real? Isn't it weird that it happened after the Moscow attack? No. Because the Moscow attack is an act of terror, like a deliberate act of terrorism. This is not. What the fuck are we talking about? Like, guys, sometimes things do happen and it's not immediately like a part of a grand scheme unless the grand narrative that we're talking about is literally capitalism and its inclination towards deregulation and constant profit-seeking initiatives that basically make it less safe for transportation, for logistics, and make our key infrastructures also less safe as well. Not ready for the how big our cargo ships are nowadays. You know what I mean? As far as like grand narratives goes, like sometimes sometimes shit happens. Sometimes a car accident occurs. You can look at it seriously. You can look at it and analyze it from the framework of like, well, maybe we should have less car reliant infrastructure. Maybe we should have better restrictions on maybe we should try and ensure that there are less fatal incidents occurring on the road, right? But we're not doing that because we're too busy making profits or whatever. But people look at that. People look at something as like normal as like a car accident nowadays and go, "Oh, it must be that the driver was like black." You know what I mean? Discourse is driven by the most mentally ill. It is not driven by ideology. No, this is ideology. This kind of mental illness is a manifestation of ideology, for sure. This kind of mental illness only happens with ideology. Part of this is anti-materialist thinking. Part of this comes from not being able to accurately look at the situation and recognize the structures that we exist under and why things are happening in the way that they're happening. This is a very predictable outcome. If you are like not directly this, Baltimore bridge is going to fucking blow up or whatever, but it's a relatively predictable outcome that our infrastructure is pretty bad. It doesn't have the adequate safety measures in place. And things like this are probably going to happen. You're probably going to see, and this is it's not going to be an act of terror, but you're probably going to see more bridges collapsing in the United States of America in the next 5 to 10 years. Is it because I'm somehow like Confucius, or not Confucius, sorry. Is it because I can see the future? Am I clairvoyant? No, I'm not clairvoyant. I just know that we have a lot of F-graded eroding infrastructure that a shit ton of very heavy, increasingly more heavy fucking trucks are passing over. And I was saying Confucius, but I meant Nostradamus. So, that's it. That's it. It's not Hasan al-Ghaib. It's just our infrastructure is crumbling. We know that it's bad. We are basically resting on the laurels of the New Deal. And it's all shit that we built in like the 1930s, right? And we barely have upgraded this stuff. There are ratings on this stuff. Like there's a way to like go through and look at the safety measures and see if it's adequate. And America consistently is considered inadequate and getting worse and worse. So it is not that crazy of a stretch or that wild of a take to suspect that like we will see more bridge collapses in the future. This is the maritime version of that bridge collapse, right? Not having enough safety boundaries in place to withstand larger impact from bigger cargo ships, consistently filling our cargo ships up to the fucking brim. The logistics companies not listening to safety concerns that are coming from within, refusing to reckon with that because that's unfortunately too costly. And ultimately you arrive at this powder keg, this perfect chaotic situation. But why do we have such conspiratorial thinking? I said it's ideology, right? It's because people don't want to think about that grand design. That's complicated. That's not like fun. It's not easy to understand. It's much easier to be like, oh, Jews did this. It's much easier to be like, oh, Hamas did this. They must have done this, right? Because it's way simpler to think in black and white terms and think that there are just like purely evil people that want to do evil. They want to do bad things, and they want to do bad things to us because we're good, and they're jealous of our goodness. And that is basically at the heart of liberalism, which everyone is. Almost every single person you know in this liberal monoculture is to some degree shaped by liberalism and their understanding of the world. And liberalism demands black and white thinking, good and bad, right? Some people are good, some people are bad. It is not like a completely a product of their social conditioning, but instead because they're just like inherently good or inherently evil. So then that is how you arrive at this like fascist ideological conspiratorial thinking, because you're like, well, who's the most evil right now? Hamas, duh. Or who's the most evil right now? Jews. So then they come up with these grand narratives. Who's the most evil right now? China, by way of the Singaporean Chinese. And that is why these guys arrive at these fucking insane conclusions. And I mean, it's fun to watch. It's hilarious, right? It's a choose your own adventure. But it is kind of scary that American politics is a collection of the most unimaginably mentally ill takes now. Like, very, very little reasonable discourse occurs. It's almost always just like, nah, it's got to be some other, it's got to be some crazy conspiracy. Here's a site tracking how shit U.S. bridges are. Over 45,000 are considered structurally deficient. 1 in 3 U.S. bridges needs a repair or replacement. That's nice, man. In the state rankings, in a percentage of structurally deficient bridges, West Virginia is the #1 state. Iowa #2, South Dakota #3, Rhode Island #4, Maine #5, Pennsylvania #6, Puerto Rico #7. Now this issue that we're talking about right here is the same problem, but, a different variant of the same problem. It comes from the same place. It's a different variant of it, though, because you're going to be like, oh, Hasan, what do you mean? These are like, these bridges are in a state of disrepair. The Baltimore Bridge was fine. The Baltimore Bridge wasn't in a bad condition or in a state of disrepair. And it's like, no, the Baltimore Bridge did not have adequate safety measures placed for the consistent ships that were going through it. That much is obvious. I thought it was stupid to blame poor infrastructure until I saw this tweet. No, of course, it's always a consequence of infrastructure. Notice how the Key Bridge had no fenders. This is why fenders are so important. The only type of protection in this case was the foundation itself, which was not big enough to alter the course of the ship given its concave shape of the hull. Poor design. It's not even poor design. It's more so, it's fine design for when it was built. I'm sure there were better versions of it, but like it's fine design, maxed out for the efficiency. But the unfortunate problem is that it's not good enough for it's not good enough for now. It's a lack of maintenance. It's a lack of upgrades. Okay, you need infrastructure upgrades. Infrastructure upgrades are good. It's good for the economy. It's a job machine. Okay, it's good because it makes things more safe. A lot of the issues that we experience in the United States of America are a consequence of our infrastructure never being fucking updated. That's why I always say we are resting on the laurels of the New Deal. New Deal era infrastructure is what America is still running on. Okay? And that shit is not going to fucking work with technological improvements, with logistics changing dramatically. Okay? That's the problem. You can have the same skeleton. In some instances, you need to improve that as well, especially with car travel changing as well, especially with how much more traffic is on the bridge, for example, at any given moment. You might need to even change the bridge itself. However, in many instances, even if you don't change the bridge, you at least have to maintain it, and you at least have to add additional safety measures around the fucking bridge. But we don't do that. because that's gay and lame and woke and fucking Marxist, I guess. And you know, the reality is that we can't do that. Honestly, we shouldn't do that. We mustn't do that. The power lines around the bridge had fenders, but the main bridge didn't. What's crazy is you can see the power lines going across the harbor have fenders around them. Thought that after the Sunshine Skyway collapsed in 1980 that all bridges and major ports would have this protection. That's a wild photo. Almost gives the impression that they care more about the 2-mile stretch of power lines than a bridge that is crossed by tens of millions of people each year. Power lines were likely new construction under stricter regs for fender design criteria. Any new or retrofit substructure repairs on that bridge would require the installation of new fenders. This is a federally navigable waterway. Cargo ship that hit Baltimore Bridge was involved in the Antwerp collision in 2016. So notice how, look, I didn't know enough about this. I read a little bit about it, but you don't need to know too much to recognize that, like, here are the most likely scenarios. It's probably the ship company refusing to do the regular safety checks that they had to implement, okay, and cutting fucking corners. It's the ship company slamming the ships, as many of these companies do nowadays, like stacking it, okay? It's also a lack of infrastructural safety measures that you normally would have to implement as by law, right? Because it's like an old ass fucking, it's an old ass bridge. So they never did it. And all of that fucking stacks up. All of those problems stack up and you create a fucking powder keg. You create a powder keg. Hasan, been 3 days in Australia, already getting big. The only thing getting big is my dick in your mother's pussy, okay? Suck my cock, dumb fuck. Anyway. Let's finish let's keep going through the right-wing mysteries. The ship that struck the FSK bridge mysteriously lost electrical power. NATO dreams about collapsing the Crimean bridge. Did Russia just demonstrate its capability to bring down a bridge without explosions? Was the ship disabled by a directed energy weapon? Awesome. Breaking. A ship just collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, causing it to collapse with multiple motorists reported missing. Maybe instead of sending billions to Ukraine, we should be spending it on our... Okay, this one is not that bad, though. Like, I don't know why the guy... I know it's CJ Pearson, who's like a fucking right-wing shithead, but like, this argument is not wrong, okay? Yes, we absolutely... And it's not just Ukraine. We absolutely should be spending money on our infrastructure instead of spending it on war. So I don't know why he, in a sea of good takes... He chose the one fucking Republican who is like accidentally arriving at a good take here. It's a big fucking ship. You don't fund your way out of this collapse. Hasan, come on. Wait, what do you mean? We just talked about fucking fenders for like the past hour, man. What do you mean? No, there are safety measures that you have literally implemented in that same photo. We just looked at it. The photo itself perfectly demonstrated, this photo right here perfectly demonstrates the problem. Newer infrastructure that was built with power lines literally have these things around them. Do you see these things? Okay. Do you know what those things are? Those things are basically the same things that separate you from vehicular manslaughter when you're walking in like, you know, crowded areas, okay? You got bumpers. Why did they put bumpers on there? The ship is big as fuck, and it's still, for the record, the ship is big as fuck, and it still probably could have pushed through those bumpers anyway. Because it's not, like I said, it is not just the bumpers. It's not one thing. It is the entire thing coming together and perfectly creating this chaotic situation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because any kind of safety measure in that situation is not a guarantee that will stop the ship in its entirety. Look how big that fucking ship is, right? The point is, it's supposed to relieve some of the tension so the fucking, the foundation isn't eating the brunt of the force, and therefore it doesn't collapse in its entirety. Redundancies and risk mitigation is not done to 100% solve the problem. Okay? Sometimes taking away 70% of the force plays a significant role in avoiding further casualties. Chatters are like, how come this really thin bridge couldn't stop this unstoppable force, 120K tons of steel? It just sucks, man. It just sucks across the board. Like, because when all things considered, look, I'm not a fucking maritime expert at all. I'm not a fucking engineer, but I'm a normal dude. And when I see a ship that fucking big, okay, go into what looks like melted cheese, basically, in comparison to that fucking fat ass ship, I don't know if any amount of fenders would have actually stopped the brunt of this impact. It could have still actually completely collapsed the bridge, even if it did have the safety measures. Because it's not just one problem here. It's a collection. It is a multitude of problems getting together and creating the perfect issue. Okay? And I need to explain, like, that is something that I'm trying to describe here, which is that, like, that ship getting that fucking slammed with cargo, being that heavy, is already an issue. Okay? The ship manufacturer, or not the ship manufacturer, but the ship company, the shipping company, refusing to implement safety measures after whistleblowers or after people criticizing some of the safety measures, that's an issue. It's a collection of all of these problems that creates the catastrophe. Okay? Okay. I'm a civil engineer. No bumpers would have stopped that shit, please. I feel like I'm losing a bit of hearing in that analysis area. Please don't give into it. No, it's not just about the fenders. It is not just about like one aspect. My point is, it is literally all of it combined. And even then, okay, and I kept mentioning this from the jump, shit still happens sometimes. Okay? Do you get it? Like, my point is, even if we had all the safety measures, even if the ship wasn't fucking completely slammed, even if the ship wasn't as heavy, even if they had listened to all of the safety concerns put forward by the people that are working at the company, and they actually implemented all the safety measures so the power never ran out. Okay? Sometimes shit happens. Like, I'm not discounting that at all. This is one of those circumstances where, like, I don't think it's a deliberate, by design, like, thing that was put forward. It's not a conspiracy at all. Unless a conspiracy is capitalism, which is a contributing factor to the likelihood of these kinds of incidents occurring. Okay? I did talk about the safety regulations that could have been implemented on the infrastructural side a little too much. Now we're going to get into the other side. Now we're going to talk about the ship side of things in a second. Shipping giant Maersk confirmed that the Dolly ship, operated and managed by Synergy Marine Group, collided with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Synergy Marine Group promotes DEI in their company. Did anti-white business practices cause this disaster? Funding for Iran. Let's take the money needed for the new Baltimore bridge from all the dollars we're sending to Iran, period. Let's go. And then last but not least, and of course this was going to happen, this was a given, the wide open border. What is this? Polygon primitive. Since people are continuously missing the point, here's a pretty picture that illustrates the concept. Specific acts, e.g., crew actions for getting a checklist item. Supervision, e.g., pairing two inexperienced pilots together. Preconditions, fatigue, or a noisy radio channel with frequent interruptions. Organizational influences, e.g., airline culture that places a great value on time departure, thereby creating subtle pressure to get through checklists quickly. This is so funny because what you're describing is only one aspect, because this exists in every other field as well, in every other side of the conversation. You're using this example. To describe the principle, basically, and how there are holes in every fucking perfectly designed structure. And it's pretty funny because, like, it's ironic that this makes up for one component. But the same principle exists for the entire design. All the bullshit about DEI makes me so upset because it involves often medicine. I'm in med school. My peers who are POC teach me so fucking much. They didn't get the memo that if you're black, you just pass automatically in general. Yeah. Well, that's just racism. This is why there's so much need for redundancy, and it is incredibly, utterly inefficient. And I think it's great that it's inefficient. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be efficient. It's not supposed to be profit seeking. Like I value safety and human beings and their experiences and their lives and their livelihoods infinitely more than I value profit margins. I guess, you know, I'm woke that way. I guess I'm woke that way.
You've been talking a lot about the potential for wrongdoing or potential for foul play given the wide open border. That is why you have been so adamant. Why has the Republicans had such a hard time securing this border? The president says he's not going to take his executive action. You know that.
Well, bro, wide open borders? We're talking about international commercial shipping, dude. What the fuck? What do you mean wide open borders? We are talking about international shipping. What the fuck are you saying right now? In Baltimore, too. Like, what the fuck? Oh, my God. It's literally the same exact argument as, like, going to the airport and being like, look at all the fucking migrants here. Why are there so many goddamn foreigners in my motherfucking international airport? I'm like, dude, what are you saying? What is the word that is coming out of your mouth? Do you think that it's, like, undocumented Guatemalans that are fucking managing the ship? What the fuck? What do you mean? How can this tie to the fucking border, please?
We all have to stand together. We all have to say that it takes 60 votes to pass anything in the Senate. And so Republicans have to stand together and say, look, we're not going to do anything else unless we secure the border.
You've been talking a lot about the potential.
DEI mayor guy exposed. This guy's getting a lot of traction today for calling the black mayor of Baltimore DEI mayor. And I have to inform you that he's a straight up Holocaust denier. Yeah, I mean, of course he is. He's a out and about Nazi. I remember him. That's not surprising at all. Of course they're like that. Oh, sweet aside for the Diddy raid, which is aside for the Russian massacre. What dream level are we in now? Oh my God, this guy's hallucinating. I love that we have to deal with people who are hallucinating on a regular fucking basis. Nowadays, everything is just like you are dealing with people who are hallucinating. All right, let's see what this guy had to say. I got to go pee real quick.
Did a cargo ship intentionally crash into the Key Bridge in Baltimore, and how is disinformation spreading because of it? Sorry for the background. I'm in Tampa right now. Well, you know why I'm here. Let's get started. On March 26th at around 1:30 a.m., a container ship crashed into the Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland. This is the bridge that carries I-695. The bridge collapsed. A few cars were on the bridge. They went into the water, and the divers are still looking for people. Video was released of the incident. But this video isn't about the incident. It's about the words, time-lapse footage of the Baltimore Bridge incident. Notice how the ship at 11 seconds abruptly changes course to slam into the bridge. Now, if you actually watch the time-lapse video, it seems like the ship loses power right around 7 seconds into the video. Now, I'm really not up on maritime stuff. Go watch Sal from What's Going On with Shipping for that. But if all the lights go out on a ship, you might assume that ship has lost power. If that ship is out of power, I would assume it's probably lost maneuvering capabilities. I mean, maybe there's backups, but if a ship loses power seconds before a crash, in the intelligence community, this is what we call a clue. Now, I noticed that many of the tweets about this event had the same exact text. Time-lapse footage of the Baltimore Bridge accident. Notice how the ship at 11 seconds abruptly changes course to slam into the bridge. I also noticed that a lot of the accounts using this text seem to have Indian names. And I think I figured out why, but I'm going to get to that. So I loaded the phrase at 11 seconds abruptly changed course into Cyabra, which...
I can't watch a fucking dude like hallucinate like this, man. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Here. This is the Nazi guy. He said the Baltimore mayor is black and therefore this is DEI, and that is the reason why an international ship crashed into the bridge in Baltimore after losing power. Very suspicious.
Everyone, this is a unthinkable tragedy. We have to, first and foremost, pray for all of those who are impacted, those families. Pray for our first responders and thank them, all of them working together, city, state, local, to make sure that everyone.
Yeah, it's like, it's definitely this guy who wasn't even fucking alive when the bridge was built, who is responsible for this, for the disaster. Twitter used to be a place to go for breaking news about things like the Baltimore Bridge disaster. Under Elon Musk, it has become the place to go for brand new unhinged conspiracy theories about how diversity made a bridge collapse. Did you already see this? It's literally just black equals bad. Let's meet the commissioners for the Port of Baltimore, starting with Corinthia A. Barber. She knows nothing about ports, but she's a diversity, equity, and inclusion belonging auditor and consultant. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm losing my fucking mind. Diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are oftentimes simply just marketing. It is to make the company look more presentable and more marketable. If you think that this has a tangible impact on the actual direction of society or the actual direction of the company at all in a meaningful capacity, you are either A, a liberal who looks at that and goes, ooh, this is sick, or B, a fucking dumbass racist. That's it. It all comes down to, do you think black people have the capacity to work in positions of power, or do you think they are inferior beings? That's literally it. Okay? And liberals look at that and go, no, that's great. Like, it's awesome, wonderful. They are right to say, it's awesome, it's wonderful. There's black people in positions of power. That's great. Okay? Conservatives look at that and go, no, dog, I'm a racist ass motherfucker, and I think that that is fucked up. That's fucked up as hell. As a trans woman, I hate DEI because I don't want to have to be a manager. No, you will manage this corporation, and you will like it.
Show you, I just showed a video. If you go back, a boat crashed here, but you can see dynamite being let off at every single point. I'm going to do it again. So we have here, charges, boom.
Vessels hit for the middle.
On the copy before this, you can clearly see it happened 6 or 7 times. I went right down the line showing each and every fire point. But my point to this video is, let's not get distracted.
Ignore the fact that he's a crazy Zionist OSINT guy. He's got access to very expensive tools to analyze behavior, and he's bang on about this. It's worth watching. Are you talking about the other guy? Didn't he just start off by saying it's not a fucking accident? What are you talking about? This dude is already talking about the misinformation around this. Please check it out. It's important. Oh, you're saying that, like, no, he's saying that the...
Did a car
No, this guy's video, he's saying that the misinformation is coming from bots. Yeah, listen up, big dog. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm sure there are a lot of bots pushing narratives, okay? I just got to let you know, there are a lot of fucking real people who believe the bots, okay? All right, let's finish this off. I'm going to go pee again. Holy shit, I'm peeing a lot.
Attend this meeting this week.
Oh, I don't want to get into that. We've got plenty of time to talk about Roth.
You mentioned the port. The port. Can I ask about cars? About the port.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Press. Thanks, everyone, for being out. Thanks, everyone.
The president there addressing the devastating bridge collapse in Baltimore and making news on several fronts. One saying that the federal government would be there to rebuild this bridge, saying they would move heaven and earth to do that, and that the federal government would pick up the tab for rebuilding that bridge. That's something he said that Congress would have to address. He noted the economic impact, 15,000 jobs impacted here in this area as a result of it. He said, we're sending all the federal resources we need to deal with this massive search and rescue operation that is now underway. He called this a, quote, terrible accident, as officials have ruled out terrorism in this incident. He did say that he would also go to Baltimore, didn't give a time frame for that, but the president addressing this major incident. Meteorologist Derek Van Dam joins me now. Derek, what does 48-degree water do to a person?
Well, frankly, Manu, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to be included within that type of water temperature, right? So we can see our heart levels rise rapidly. We can start to see our breathing rise rapidly, and we can lose consciousness very quickly. Hypothermia, cold shock sets in. It is a very dangerous water temperature to succumb to. And just zooming in a little bit closer, you can see we've got the Chesapeake Bay to my east and the Patapsco River coming out of the Baltimore harbor here. And this is right where the Key Bridge actually collapsed earlier this morning. So we are going on over 12 hours. So when we talk about human survivability within these types of water temperatures, you can see from this graph 40 to 50 degree temperatures. That human survivability limit is roughly 1 to 3 hours before those physiological effects that I talked to you about a moment ago start to set in. Now, complicating the efforts not only below the water, but also at the surface of the water and above for the search and rescue operations that are currently ongoing is this tidal swing that we have right now. This is an exaggerated, we have it a full moon spring tide. So we have coastal flood advisories dotting the Chesapeake Bay, the Delmarva Peninsula, for instance. And you can see this wording here, dangerous rip currents. And this is just compounded by the fact that the Patapsco River is flowing out of the Baltimore harbor, and we've got the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic coastal waters flowing out of this region as we approach low tide at 3:10 this afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And then we'll see that reversal in the tides as we head towards a high tide peak later this evening. So that could make conditions